I wanted to highlight just kind of three different areas that I think really kind of our themes and our important themes in terms of how these are playing out, I think, in St. Paul in particular. The first one that I want to just quickly highlight is just the work around commercial corridors. And it's a simple statement that says, in fact, for the last, I would say, dozen or so years even, we have been practicing cultural tourism. And cultural communities, not surprisingly, in fact, have been practicing cultural tourism for quite some time. When you look at the work that's gone on in District del Sol, a very intentional effort on the St. Paul's west side to build a regional destination for Latino goods and services and energy and vitality, cultural tourism. When you look at what's gone on the east side on Payne Avenue, the growing resurgence and the growth of the Latino communities on the east side on Payne Avenue, tremendous rebirth there, I think, historically over the last 10 to 15 years. Obviously, what's gone on University Avenue Long, the home of many black businesses, Selby Avenue, with a strong core of black businesses that is, again, continuing to emerge. But on University Avenue in particular, the growth of Asian communities really for the last, if you think about it, the last 20, 25 years. And in matter of fact, the city of St. Paul probably owes a significant note of gratitude to the Asian community for taking risk and investing when none of us were talking about light rails or comprehensive plans. Again, tremendous rebirth. And when you think about the light rail line coming through there, huge opportunity for cultural tourism, for culturally based economic development. The public art plans that are in place along University Avenue are significant. The work being done around, you heard mentioned the World Cultural Heritage District. If you've been to some other communities, if you've walked into Chinatown in San Francisco, and you just feel the explosion of culture, that's what I envision for various stops along the way on University Avenue. And that's the kind of thing that creates vibrancy, that creates actually economic activity. In Minneapolis, we've seen Lake Street and the significant work that East African communities have done, Somali communities, the Latino community along Lake Street, and certainly with the global marketplace at the Sears redevelopment. Central Avenue in Northeast, long a kind of a bastion of Slavic culture, and you've seen a growth of Middle Eastern and Latino businesses along Central Avenue. Again, these are all examples of cultural tourism where we're seeing communities of color, in fact, leading the revitalization, the economic revitalization of these communities, and it's significant, and it's something that needs to be built on. Franklin Avenue, you heard Justin's Hieneman's work on Franklin Avenue and building a native cultural center is really significant. Again, a lot of hard work over many years by many different organizations, but really some significant headway, I think. And when you compare it to what was there, again, late 70s, early 80s, even the mid 80s, it's pretty remarkable to see what's happened in those communities. For the city of St. Paul, a lot of this work is we're trying to kind of get more intentional about how we get behind this. Ellen Muller is here from the Planning and Economic Development Department, really kind of our lead person around small business development. The work on commercial corridors has always been a strong piece of Planning and Economic Development's agenda. But again, we're trying to get more intentional and purposeful about that in obviously hard economic times. And again, if you go to the great cities of America, you can see and feel cultural tourism. When you go to Adams Morgan in Washington, D.C., when you go to Barrio Logan in San Diego, when you go to Chicago's Pilsen neighborhood and see the tremendous kind of growth of rebirth of a Latino marketplace in those communities. Just a few examples of some places where culture really is the catalyst for economic rebirth. And if you think about some of the research that's kind of been done in recent years kind of around this topic, you'll see that our brightest young knowledge workers are increasingly looking for diverse, dynamic, urban places to live, creative communities where art, design, food, where these things all come together. You're going to hear more about this, I think, from John Foley and I think Charles Landry as well today. The Twin Cities can and should be one of those places. So in other words, the competition now is for these bright young knowledge workers, and it's about economic competitiveness. And so I'm kind of done talking about race and class and diversity and inclusiveness in moral terms. I'm all about it in terms of economic competitiveness. And if this community wants to be the economic leader that it has been historically, in fact, cultural tourism, cultural dynamism, in fact, is the pathway to get there. Because what we're finding, what we're hearing, what the research is showing, is that these dynamic young workers that everybody's competing for across the country and, in fact, across the world, they want dense, urban, hip places with culture, with diversity. That they choose to go to those places. And so that's what we have to be about. So this work isn't just a nice gathering of cultural workers and folks working in neighborhoods. In fact, I would argue it's one of the long-term economic strategies that is critical to this region's success. So, I'm thrilled to kind of to see this gathering happen. I just want to point out one other area that I think is important, and that's around minority and women-owned businesses and supporting entrepreneurship in those communities. Big push for us, for those of you who may know Luz Maria Frias, who is our kind of director of human rights and equal opportunity. There's a big push going on in the city, and there has been for some time in other organizations as well around minority business development. And that's something that's, I think, taking root. At the regional level, the Itasca group, which is a grouping of CEOs of major corporations in the community, is also talking about being more intentional about connecting their larger businesses, their purchasing, with, again, smaller emerging businesses. And so we need to take that stuff to scale and really see it through. Finally, I just want to acknowledge, as a kind of a third theme, just the tremendous work that's gone on in a lot of different community organizations. The work of Mike Tamale and the folks at Neighborhood Development Center. I see folks from Aurora St. Anthony. I mentioned Justin and the work at NACD, work in the Asian community around ADA, Model Cities, African Development Center, Latino Economic Development. I mean, these are all organizations, I think, that are slowly building kind of their presence and real capacity to get real work done. And I think that's a tremendous asset to have. And having spent time actually in a lot of other communities looking at community development and economic development, I can tell you that we truly are blessed to have a great set of partners. So, I think I just want to close with just kind of the acknowledgement again that I think that this is where the energy needs to be. This is where the creativity and the innovation needs to be and is. We have high expectations. The mayor has high expectations for this city, and we also recognize that starts first and foremost in communities, and it's our job in city government to really facilitate and to be a helpful partner in that. And so that is the goal that we have. So I hope you have a great day, and I appreciate you giving me the time to share a few thoughts with you. So thanks much.